Hello, everyone. This is Brian Lewis. This is the Raw Moment. Started this last year for a little bit. Didn't have a lot of time to do it, but now I do. And I'm going to make it a habit to do one of these every other day, if not every day. So I'm going to make a habit of it. Today's topic is Eric Bledsoe. Um, you know, as someone that loves basketball, okay, it's a love-hate relationship with the NBA, but I love basketball. Eric Bledsoe is a fine player. I think he's a B minus player in the NBA, a guy that every team could use to build a championship team. His contract's not too bad, and from what I'm reading, it looks to me like he's, you know, he's one of those weird tweeters too. I mean, Katie Nolan was on SportsCenter the other night with Scott Van Pelt and mentioned how he has this like random actions of tweets. I honestly think Phoenix, the ownership from the top, is probably saying, well, we need to tank because we got screwed in the lottery. Well, here's a lesson to the Phoenix Suns before I continue on Eric Bledsoe. Because there's a couple of things wrong with this entire Eric Bledsoe situation. One, the Phoenix Suns, you're dealing with a Rich Paul client, okay? Rich Paul is the Scott Boras of basketball. The man gets what he wants, when he wants, how he wants it, pretty much whenever the fuck he wants. That's just how it is. Nobody's going to tell Rich Paul what he can and can't do for his clients, aka his players. Never mind the fact that one of his closest friends happens to be one of the best athletes on this planet, LeBron James. The only athletes to come close to his comparison, maybe Ronaldo, Brady, Messi, Tiger Woods in his prime, perhaps Connor McDavid in a few years. That's about it. That's elite territory. Nobody touches that. So the Phoenix Suns are really walking on thin ice right now. Never mind the fact Bledsoe's still the best player on that team. I mean, Devin Booker should be, but Eric Bledsoe's the best player on that team right now because Devin Booker doesn't play defense on the other end. And Eric Bledsoe was a fine defender when he was in college. I remember. So Phoenix, I mean, their GM's Ryan McDonaugh, a Danny Ainge guy. So you automatically know there's going to be narratives on both ends of the spectrum. You know, the anti-Ainge people are going to say McDonough's really trying to think that he can have any leverage here, which is a stupid statement to make because there's no leverage to be had here. And then on the other side, there's, the pro-Ainge, people that go, well, McDonough has to be able to make the deal one way or the other. And I'm like, well, everyone knew it was a foregone conclusion. So let's compare this to another player that kind of wanted out and was able to force his way out. Carmelo Anthony, Paul George. All right, Paul George, that trade actually isn't the worst thing in the world. I've seen worse trades, but Paul George got traded for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. No draft picks, just two. I mean, Sabonis I liked as a prospect. I think Sabonis has some real upside. If Miles Turner wants to play center, because I don't think Sabonis is a center like his dad was. But then you have the Carmelo deal, and the Knicks literally just got an expiring contract that can rebound, and a guy who was the all-time leading scorer in college basketball, but somehow can't score in the NBA. That's it. That's all you got for Carmelo Anthony. The Suns are going to get even worse of a value. The Suns are probably going to end up having to make a deal with Cleveland, and they're probably going to have to take in Shumpert and maybe Tristan Thompson, or Shumpert and Fry. They probably won't even get Tristan Thompson. They'll probably have to get Shumpert and Fry for Eric Bledsoe because of how incompetent the Phoenix Suns are. Now, if you wanted to look back on it and say what things could have been done to avoid this, one, trade Eric Bledsoe in the offseason. Like, what are you doing? You're the Phoenix Suns. You're a team that has never been this bad in their entire franchise's history. I'm 24 years old. The only Phoenix Suns I remember are the teams that had Amari Stoudemire, Steve Nash, Raja Bell, Sean Marion, and then Grant Hill for a short bit, and they had Shaq for like maybe a minute. And even before that, I remember the old 1990s basketball video games. They had Stephon Marbury and Jason Kidd running the point. You know, they had Dan Marley out for 3. They had Kevin Johnson. They had Charles Barkley. They were competitive teams for a good 20 freaking years, man. So, obviously, Phoenix had a winning formula. You know, Devin Booker's a fine player. Marquise Chris, until Earl Watson got fired, seemed like Marquise Chris wasn't even utilized. Where's Dragan Bender? You know, Tyler Ulis is like, maybe like what? A quarter of what Isaiah Thomas actually was? And as a Celtics fan, let me tell you, Isaiah Thomas was great. Even in Phoenix. Just didn't use him. So, this is what it comes down to with Eric Bledsoe. Phoenix, you ain't getting shit for Eric Bledsoe. That's just the way it is. You're going to end up getting some garbage-ass deal. That's it, really. I mean, the Suns are incompetent as hell. Rich Paul, very powerful man. You know, it's like the power of the mob. You can try to fight it, but you can't resist it. And this goes to Ryan McDonough's comments, saying that Eric Bledsoe should be questioning the leadership and advice of Rich Paul. And I'm not going to listen to I didn't listen to Brian Windhorst's whole spiel about it because I don't really care for Brian Windhorst too much. I think he's another LeBron hunk. But keep in mind who this guy, Rich Paul, represents. Rich Paul represents John Wall, Ben Simmons, Bledsoe, college teammate of John Wall, LeBron James, and I think there's like probably another 5 or 6 NBA players within that. I think Blake Griffin too, actually. And then Ben Simmons also mentioned on here as well. And this is what McDonough said. I was certainly surprised by it and disappointed by the tweet of him not wanting to be there. I think Eric's a good person. I think he unfortunately got some bad advice and is listening to the wrong people. I think generally, anytime you sign a contract, it doesn't only work one way, it works both ways. And for a guy with years on his contract to say or intimidate that he didn't want to be here anymore, I didn't find that to be appropriate. And I think if he says he wants to be the leader, that's the opposite of what a leader does and the opposite of what leadership is. So I think that's all I'm going to say about it. Ay, Kadishk. McDonough, you're on a team that is going to win 23 games. The dude is 27 years old. Like, we live in a different NBA, okay? Contracts are fully guaranteed, whether you play him or not. That's the facts, okay? The NBA, the NHL, MLB, the guys can play, the guys cannot play. They're getting paid regardless. This isn't the NFL, where you have signing bonuses and camp bonuses and incentives. No. There are incentives in the NBA, obviously. Mo Harkless proved that last year. But come on, people. You can't be this stupid. You can't be this stupid, man. Eric Bledsoe is pulling a power move on you because other players in the NBA have been able to do it. Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Rajon Rondo in Boston, even though he didn't really insinuate the trade because that fan base adores him. Still to this day, there are a lot of Rondo fans. He didn't beg for a trade, but he was inching. You know, he was inching towards a trade. You know, people want to put themselves in winning situations. When all you've done is lose, you get sick of losing. You start to question your desire to want to play for that team. So, as far as Eric Bledsoe goes, man, if he's a Knick, if he's a Buck, I would love to see him on the Denver Nuggets. I think that would be the finishing piece to the puzzle there. But for Eric Bledsoe, man, if he can get himself to a winning team, the narrative will change on this really quickly.